I'm Tom Hammond, an alumnus in the university, and it's become somewhat of a tradition for me to MC this event. And in prior years, it seemed I was always returning from some big international sporting event and tried to relate some of the things that I experienced as they might apply to the university. This year, there were three major international sporting events worth noting, I think, and it seems to me that we can take a lesson in what pride and determination can accomplish. This was an Olympic year, although the Winter Games in Vancouver seem like they were eons ago now. In the first few days, it seemed that those games were destined to be the worst ever. Remember how they began? The tragic death of the Georgian luger on the day of the opening ceremonies, the Olympic flame malfunction at the ceremonies themselves, the weather so warm that snow had to be trucked in to some venues, and then fog and rain postponing several downhill events. What else could go wrong? But the Vancouver Olympic Committee was determined to make things right, and the Canadian people were proud to be hosting the Games, and gradually things began to come together. I broadcast from the figure skating venue, and it would turn out to be the best Olympic figure skating competition ever. And one of the most emotional and courageous athletic endeavors in all the sports I've covered over the years occurred when Canadian Joanie Rochette took the ice just 4 days after her mother had unexpectedly passed away. She would win the bronze, and I guarantee you there was not a dry eye in the house. It was some courageous moment when she skated her program. The Canadian people embraced and supported the Games wholeheartedly. At any time of the day or night, it seemed people were in the streets just celebrating the Games themselves, many without tickets to any of the events. And by the time the U.S. squared off against Canada for the hockey gold medal on the final day, Vancouver was bedlam. And the Games, instead of being the worst ever, were being pronounced the best Winter Games in history. Amazing what pride and determination had done. The second major international competition, the World Cup in South Africa. I wasn't there in person, but an interested observer, even though my soccer knowledge is limited. But looking at the big picture, when many said having the Cup in South Africa would be a disaster, it turned out to be exactly the opposite, unless you count those annoying horns that sounded throughout every game. The World Cup was such a success that South Africa was being urged to bid on the 2020 Olympic Games, which have never been held on the African continent. And that brings us to the final big international competition this year, starting a week from Saturday right here in Lexington. The World Equestrian Games have never been held outside Europe, and to get them here was a major coup, cementing our city as the horse capital of the world. UK will be involved on many different levels at the World Equestrian Games, and this will be a chance to show visitors from all over the globe what our university is all about. Our pride in what UK has accomplished and our determination to keep moving forward should provide a favorable impression for all the visitors to take home with them. And to the UK students who might be listening today, if you have an opportunity to interact with any of the many visitors coming to the Games, I urge you to do so. Being exposed to different ideas and cultures can be as much of an education as any class you might take. And students are the first order of business here today. And there's a familiar face that's going to speak first today, Ryan Smith. He's our first speaker. He's just started his second term as student body president, and there haven't been many students in the history of the university that have repeated as the president of the student body. Ryan grew up in London, Kentucky before moving to Louisville during his teenage years. He graduated from Louisville's Trinity High School, received his bachelor's degree in political science from UK in May, and is currently pursuing his MBA in the Gatton College of Business and Economics. On campus, Ryan has held several leadership roles. He's a member of Sigma Chi. He's been active in Dance Blue and provides counsel and support to a wide array of student organizations. Please join me in providing a warm welcome to Student Government President Ryan Smith.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. President, Mrs. Todd, members of the board, distinguished faculty, staff, and students, welcome today. Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everyone for being here today, particularly with the inclement weather outside. I'd like to thank everyone who's made today a reality through their tireless effort, dedication, passion, and just overall enthusiasm for the University of Kentucky. Please join me in applauding the UK Public Relations and Marketing team for the work that they do to organize today's events and many other events on this campus, and the work that they do to go to bat for students day in and day out. So thank you all. I also wish to recognize and thank members of our Physical Plant Division, UK Dining Services, and many others who quietly take events here at the University of Kentucky and make them great. Lastly, also to the University Sound and Lights, who not only make student government and university events look great, but they make them sound fantastic. So thank you all very much. From Snowcat Ski Club to families in need of assistance, the reach of student government continues its commitment to enhancing the quality of campus life for each and every student. Our acts range in scope from the minuscule to the magnificent, but they remain present to those to whom it matters the most, the students. I'd like to take just a few minutes to outline some of the achievements that we have accomplished since I spoke with you all last year. Like all of you, I remain committed to Dr. Todd's vision of making Kentucky a top 20 institution. But it's not just his vision. We all have a stake in it. And nowhere is that more important than recruiting and retaining the best and brightest of not only the Commonwealth, but the region, the country, and beyond. Now in its second year, our scholarship drive remains committed to its goal, and we continue to actively fundraise across the state to raise funds to relieve students of the ever-increasing educational costs. With the aid and eagerness of Susanna Denemy, Mike Ritchie, who I saw earlier, and the rest of the UK Development Office, we will continue the mission of recruiting our generation's best and brightest while relieving them of some of their educational costs and financial burdens. Already this year, we've seen an astounding increase in the number of students whose devotion and duty to service is really entrenched deeply in their values. Applications for our leadership development program are up 75% over this time last year. With hundreds of applications for only 40 spots, we now have the problem of having too many eager and talented students to choose from. LDP continues to make an impact in the lives of freshmen and has played a major role in letting students find their leadership style to influence other fellow students. Our Tally Cats program is, continues to be a huge success. It continues to foster a sense of community between students, bringing out more students to every type of event on campus. Whether it's the world's largest water balloon fight, whether it's a night out watching UK's volleyball team, or training with the VIP Center's award-winning SEEDS program, students are consistently being exposed to great opportunities. When we launched the Tally Cats program, it was our hope that retention rates would increase. Now we know that is true. Retention rates for students who participate in Tally Cats are nearly 10% higher than the average student. It's through programs like these and campus-wide support that we're able to make a difference. We've met the challenges and tribulations a stagnant economy can entail, and we've responded with over $100,000 in funding to student organizations last year alone. This year, I've increased that amount to $115,000 to ensure more opportunities for service to campus and to community. We hope in the coming years to continue this funding increase. It's a vital artery for many organizations on campus from which to flourish, let alone merely exist in many instances. And our assistance doesn't end there. More than any other year in recent history, students have taken advantage of the free legal service that student government offers. We've answered the call of service to our non-traditional students by providing over $15,000 to non-traditional students with families. And when the housing around campus was threatened, student government rallied as an advocate for those needing a larger voice in an already very, very large and loud conversation. And lastly, it is with great pride and purpose that I announce our latest endeavor, the Student Driver Pilot Program. And it is a testament to our desire to constantly develop new ways to serve the students in a practical, in a reliable, and a safe manner. Along with the UK administration, the committed folks at Lextran, we have developed a program to provide transportation Thursday through Saturday, late into the evening when students are making their way around campus and off for weekend activities. There is no question in anyone's mind that student safety is a priority, and I'm committed, and we are committed in student government to reducing the number of safety-related incidents for students regardless of where they might live. Through this program, we aim to eliminate any dangers which may or might not arise late at night. Our Deputy Chief of Staff, Max Stefka, has done really just a fantastic job over the summer developing a plan, and we are in the final stages of working with the administration as well as the community to make this plan a reality. All of these good deeds, these committed works, are but a relative fraction when held against the accomplishments of a man whose large shadow will be cast over this university for generations to come. A man whose vision to elevate this university into a world-renowned research institution, a pillar for higher public education, is nearly unparalleled. He has again, time and again, displayed a deep and resounding love for this campus and an unrelenting charge to improve the lives of Kentuckians for now and for future generations. He's also one of the best billiards players I've ever seen in my life. I'm, of course, talking about the man who will be standing here at this podium shortly, Dr. Lee Todd. It is with a very bittersweet heart that I express to you not only my deepest thanks for being a mentor or a confidant, but just a great example of how one should lead others. President and Mrs. Todd have created a community where students have always come first. Together, they leave a legacy of being known as the student's president and the first mom. President Todd has been our greatest encourager. He has challenged us to believe in ourselves, to dream big, and he has stood with us to make this campus what it is today. I know that I speak for the entire student body in saying that each of you all will be missed. Like each generation before us, ours has been blessed with a unique opportunity to radically alter the direction and future of this university, to leave a legacy which, much like Dr. Todd and Mrs. Todd's, will have a lasting impact when we return with our children for freshman orientation decades from now. As hard for me to believe as that is. It is an atmosphere we in student government look to as a thrill, not a chore. And while we honor the past with events like these, let us look to the future of our campus, not just to next year, but beyond. You know, it's said that the entire depth of human knowledge quadruples every decade. And it's our responsibility and our duty to dream of things possible that we didn't even consider possible, that we cannot even consider possible today. The direction of the University of Kentucky is indeed bright. And I'm looking forward to not only seeing blue, but to see what the future holds for all of us. I'm filled with joy, gratitude, and humility at the privilege to have served this institution for the past 2 years. And I'm eager to see what is to come for all of us. I thank each of you all for the opportunity to work with you, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. Thank you all so very much, and go Cats.
Thank you, Ryan. We're proud of you, and let me go on record as saying I hope when you get your MBA and you go out into the real world that you'll stay in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And we need the best and brightest in this state, and we hope you'll stay for your professional life. Well, the next introduction, sort of a bittersweet moment for me because, like many of you, I've enjoyed getting to know this man over the past 10 years. Always been impressed with his candor, his insight, and the humble manner in which he carries himself. A fellow Kentuckian, Lee T. Todd, Jr., born and raised in Arlington, a graduate of UK and MIT. President Todd, a former UK engineering professor, a successful businessman who launched 2 worldwide technology companies, both based in Kentucky, and a public advocate for research, technology, and an entrepreneurial economy in the Commonwealth. And I'd like to just add my voice to the many words of praise for Dr. Todd since he announced his retirement effective next June. Nearly 10 years ago, UK took an unorthodox route to hiring a new president, and we were rewarded with a man whose practical approach was nearly unique. and his accomplishments many and varied. His vision for what the university should be has made it a better place, and his understanding of how the state's flagship university can raise the fortunes of all the citizens of the Commonwealth, and hopefully that philosophy will remain a vital part of UK. Dr. Todd's love of the university, Patsy's love of the university, has guided many of those decisions, and I spoke earlier of pride and determination. Certainly Dr. Todd exhibited those in abundance as he guided UK through the most difficult financial climate any of us could ever have imagined. So on behalf of UK alums everywhere, I'd like to add words of thanks. And on a personal note, Dr. Todd, thank you for getting me more involved in the affairs of the university in many different ways. Dr. Todd.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's very kind. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's, as I said the other day, this gets a little harder as the reality starts sinking in, but you probably see why we've only had one MC in the length of the State of the Union address, with this gentleman being available to us and doing so many things. I hear his voices in a lot of commercials, a lot of videos, and a lot of things we ask him to do. I think one of the memories that Patsy and I will always retain are the ones where we bring people out in the middle of Rupp Arena and have them recognized, outstanding students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and so forth. We had the honor of taking Tom out there last year, and it was the first time I recall where the standing ovation started when we were halfway out to the center court, because nobody had to tell the audience who this man was coming out there. And I'm not sure people could even hear the announcement that they read because of the appreciation that that audience had for this fellow Kentuckian and UK alumni. So we sure appreciate all that you do for us. Thank you. Ryan Smith. I remember I talked to most of the incoming presidents of the student body and tell them that if they could just think of one thing that they could do that would stick, that would be sustainable, that would be everlasting, that they could then look back at their career here and really feel a sense of accomplishment. And that's not an easy thing to do when you have one term and maybe two in his case. But it has been possible for him to make some things happen that are sticking. The Tally Cats, Patsy and I took 10 of the students that ranked tops in the Tally Cat point system last year to dinner with Kelly B. and Ryan, and it's just a refreshing thing. And when we think, and when the provost comes up with an idea, such as his war on attrition, and then sees students come in and append to that a way to get the students more involved more quickly and reward them and incent them to do so, it really makes you understand the kind of leadership that we have in this young man right here. And so I want to applaud you. I don't speak for the Board of Trustees very often. I try not to. But in this case, I think the board members who are with us today, I'll introduce in a minute, would say to you it's been a pleasure to serve with you for 2 years, and you've been a very professional, very bright, very caring young man that has represented the student body well and this institution. So thank you. We do have a few board members here today. I'd like for them to stand when I announce their names. Dr. Sechtello is here. Keith Gannon, a new board member, is with us. Penny Brown. Sheila Brothers, the staff representative on the Board of Trustees. And Dr. Brett Brockman, who used to be student government president. I knew him when he was a student. He is now chairman of the board, just recently selected, and I'd like for you to give a round of applause. Everett McCorvey is here too. How could you miss Everett McCorvey? So, thank you all. Thank you. I too want to introduce Provost Subaswamy, who just returned from Hopkinsville, where he was now recruiting students for next year's outstanding class, and have a round of applause for him. I'm not sure there's a record around the nation for the number of searches that a provost has done in a period of time. However, we have 15 new deans, and those who are here, the deans, all deans, would you all please stand and let us thank you all for your service to this institution. Now, I'll introduce the rookies. Thank you. One comfort I get in stepping away from this institution is are people like Subaswamy and these deans. I'll still say I was in a conversation once. This speech may be longer than it should be, but I'm going to run around and chase a few rabbits every now and then as I think about it. So it's my privilege, I guess. I don't get paid enough to do that, but I'm not going to bring that up. So I was speaking at the Christmas dinner one time with the head of the KET, and I made a comment to Mac that I almost feel embarrassed at times because we wrote the Top 20 plan, we got it funded by the legislature, we went out and we brought in a provost who could have been at a top 5 university as provost if he had chosen. We brought in deans who had choices of where they could go. And now, not only do they come here and I tell them I can't give you a raise, you can't give the people that report to you a raise. But about that time, and I mentioned Michael Speaks in particular because he was there. We brought him in from California to head our College of Design. A few minutes later, Michael walked over close to Mac and myself, and I pulled him over and introduced him to Mac, and I started telling the story that I had just told Mac. And as soon as I said I felt embarrassed, Mike said, wait, you don't need to say that. You brought us here to help you find the money to make this institution better, and that is a part of our job. And I will tell you that with this set of deans, I have every belief that this place is going to go forward and the attitude is going to be retained. So I thank all of you very, very much for your service. I'd also like the senior vice presidents, vice presidents, associate vice presidents. There's a danger in this because it's a small room and you'll think that we have far too many administrators. But all of those of you who serve in a capacity, stand up and with those titles. And if you have some doubt, stand up anyway because you got some over here. There we go. There are groups of people who think that administration is totally unnecessary and overpaid. I will tell those groups that if it weren't for these people who just stood, as few of others, I don't see Angie Martin here, Connie Ray, they're back there in the back. If they weren't here, the employees of this institution's health care would be exorbitant. Your retirement would not be saved like it has been saved. You might have already been furloughed or be looking forward to furloughs. We have not had major layoffs. We have not had hiring freezes. And I can't give Subaswamy, the deans, and these administrators enough credit for what they have done to be able to keep us in a fairly sound situation, given the history of 9 budget cuts over a 9-year period. And so I really appreciate all that you all do to keep this place on the move. Dr. Robert Mock's seat is right there. I don't know where Robert is. There he is. I do want to introduce some of the new folks. He is our new Vice President for Student Affairs. You have probably seen him around campus. He's been very active. If you don't, hit the website. There's a good story about him on there, but we welcome you to this institution. We do have the deans here and a great turnout, and I appreciate it. I would like for Michael Tick from College of Fine Arts, who is new, to stand wherever he is. I don't know where. But he came to us from Louisiana. Tim Tracy is new dean from College of Pharmacy this year, and Terry Birdwhistle is the dean of libraries, and I'm going to embarrass you. Terry's one of our own. We have been very proud of him over the years, but his story is one that I think needs to be told across the campus and across Kentucky. Terry was born and raised in Lawrenceburg, started working at UK as a student worker while he pursued his master's degree. He went on to receive his master's in library and information science and his PhD in educational policy studies, thanks to our employee education program. He is a perfect example of how we want our employees to succeed when they become a part of us. His recognition as dean was as a result of doing a national search, selecting the top candidates, going through that process and realizing that the top candidate was right here with us. And so we're very proud of you. He probably has in his head more history of this state than any living human being, and he does a great job with the oral history program that he had for some time, and we really applaud you as being a native and one of us. After last week's announcement of my pending retirement, I fielded several questions about today's remarks. It's been suggested by some that this would be a farewell speech. This is not a farewell speech. I'm president of the University of Kentucky for 9 more months. We're going to be busy. I've already had a few people to tell me they've got a list of things they want to get done before I depart, and they're sitting in this room looking at me right now, so I do remember those conversations. I do hope to visit each college before I leave this position to thank each college individually for their contributions to this period of time, and Judy is working on scheduling those events now. Some others have implied this would be a good time to wave the white flag on our top 20 plan, to say, well, that's it, I'm gone, can't do this any longer. That would be a mistake. And that's certainly nothing that I intend to do, and intend to continue to sell that plan as much as I can. I would like to remind those folks that our mission to become a top 20 public research university wasn't my concept. It was passed into state law by Governor Patton in our legislature in 1997, 4 years before I took this position. Where I gained some credit, I guess, is writing the business plan that tried to describe how to get there. I said in my inaugural address that I thought my first job was to convince Kentuckians that they deserved a top 20 institution. And after that, to lay out a plan on how to try to get there, and then to execute that plan. And we are executing. I was told by even some people before I applied for this position that while I should apply, the first thing that they would do is take the top 20 plan off the table, because why have a goal that you can't control? My reply to those was that as a native Kentuckian, it gave me great pride that the state of Kentucky had finally set a higher education goal that was a real stretch. And it is a stretch. I don't think the people who set the goal understand how hard that is. But I understand people around this campus are shooting for it. And we are and will be a much better institution. This goal was never about just pure statistics and rankings. It's about utilizing the university as a change agent for this state. While we have many people coming here from other states and other countries, I think they can learn from the fact that if we change this state, they can change their state and they can change their country. We have many similar characteristics. But it's really about leveraging the talents of the students and the faculty and the staff, bringing in our alumni and deciding that we do want to bring about change in the state. The fact of the matter is that national rankings are fairly easy to manipulate if you understand the levers. You read articles about it all the time where some people play the games to get more alumni to give by different means. They entice a lot of students to apply so that they can reject them, so that they can look better to U.S. News and World Report. We can make substantial progress by becoming much smaller and much more expensive and much more selective if we want to be like some of those institutions. Those things are applauded by U.S. News and World Report rankings. We could lop off the lower 2,000 students that get accepted into this institution. On the other hand, we've increased the freshman class from 3,000 to well above 4,000. And the ACTs have been increasing. But we are actually taking students that are first-generation students where the Souter Foundation wants us to target those who have ACTs in the kind of 25 range or so. And while that won't help us move our number up a lot, if we get below that number, and they want a range around that, that is the type of education we need to provide. If we were to reject those people at the low end of that scale, we'd be rejecting kids from rural Kentucky, kids from inner cities who take the ACT one time because now the state pays for them to do it, who can't take it 4 times and select their best score and submit that on their application, whose mom and dad, if they have a mom and dad, can't afford to pay for Kaplan, so they can go study up for it and then go in and take it. These are kids that have an innate ability to learn and to succeed if given a chance. And this is a university of opportunity. It's not a university of selectivity. We are selective because we want students who come in here to be assured that they do have the skills and the abilities to graduate. But we take a long time, and with the money we were given in the business plan, it was decided by Provost Subaswamy to add people to our admissions department, working with our great Don Witt, so we can look at the whole application, not just an ACT cutoff score. And so I make no apologies for the fact that our ACT scores don't put us where some would like to see us in U.S. News and World Report. The way we will change that, and we are changing, and I'll give you some specifics in a few minutes, is to change the ACT score for the Kentucky students, to work closely with P12 to get those students to take tougher courses, to be better students. And as we lift up that pool of Kentucky students, our application pool will go up. We could change that ranking too, don't want to harp on this, but I will, by going out to California and recruiting the students out there whose parents can pay our out-of-state tuition. Some Southeastern Conference schools have 40% of their freshman class out of state right now, from Texas and California primarily. Or we can go to Texas and get those kids who have IACTs and their parents can pay the price. And they will graduate in 4 years, so that gives you another marker on the U.S. News and World Report list. And then they will leave the state of Kentucky. We're not doing that. We're getting over 2,000 applications for our medical school right now. Much of that growth has come from out-of-state students. And our medical school tuition is far higher than our in-state tuition. So should we go that route and bring in a lot of dentists and doctors who come from out of state to pay the price and leave the state 4 years later? I don't think so. And so these are the kind of mountains we've chosen to climb. Every statistic we measure in that business plan is nationally documented. We're not going to play with those numbers. We're going to choose to look at student-faculty ratio, which we can't change if we don't get any increase in our budget, because we can't hire more faculty, and we've promised our faculty we're not going to overburden them with bigger and bigger classes. When you do that, you take away the opportunity for that professor to see that student down by the vending machine to say, you did really well on that last test. Have you ever thought about being a this or that or whatever? Those changes are what make smaller classes necessary, where the professors will have the time to have some intimacy. We're also measuring graduation rate. We have the highest among public universities in the state of Kentucky right now, about 61%. We want that to be higher, and several initiatives are being made to get that higher. But you don't change it overnight. And so when we went through this plan, we did not choose things so that I, leaving in 10 years, could say, made it. We chose those parameters because we want the state of Kentucky to make it. So that's what a flagship university in a difficult state is setting out to do. We made the choice in 2001 that the path to progress for this university was for us to grow in size. And if you look at the way these statistics are gathered, our faculty is about half the size of the faculty in Michigan and the faculty at Ohio State. And the more faculty you have, the more research you do, the bigger your numbers are. And they don't calculate these rankings based on per faculty. They calculate it on total volume. We're re-looking at the business plan now, and we had a very good discussion this summer about it. And based on some numbers I'll give you with Dean Kornblue and his experience with online courses, it may be that we still will grow the size of this institution, but we'll grow it with online learners. We'll reach out to our alumni who would like to have that next degree from their alma mater, and we'll be able to offer classes possibly down to the K-12 system to encourage students to take those tougher courses from the University of Kentucky. So we're going to look at how we finance this model. That would take some pressure off of our capital facilities, which we haven't been able to build for education like we'd like, and it would also allow us to grow the student body without having to grow the faculty. So those are some things that we're looking at. I'm going to talk now about some of the accomplishments. One thing that Dave Melanson, who writes a lot of what I say, and Tom Harris, who helps out but gets scared to death when I get off my cards, wanted me to be able to point to my office when I was standing outside, and my office is down there, one floor down. And I chose to put it on the back side of this building on the corner because I can see the Patterson Plaza. I can see the future of this state walking around there, and it's just absolutely wonderful when classes change. It reminds me of being in New York City when you're sitting at a restaurant just before the plays start, and you got the hubbub out through there, and then the plays start and it calms down. About 10:30, they all come back out. It's a living, breathing college campus. And one thing that I have been doing kind of interestingly enough, in the last year, I've been actually doing a visual view of diversity. And there are very few times that I look out that window and see a group of students that I don't see a diverse representative in that group. And I'm very, very proud of that accomplishment. We have innovation bubbling up from about every corner of this campus. We are a research university, and these students that I see out there every day deserve to see creativity and innovation day one. That's why they should choose to come here. And they do see that. I see innovation in the new emergency department at the UK Chandler Hospital, which is now open and functioning. UK is now home to the most state-of-the-art emergency room in this country. The emergency department chair, Roger Humphreys, right in front of me right here. Stand up, Roger. You've done a lot to get that thing open before the games, and I know Mike Karp is proud of you, and we thank you for the work you've done. He's with us, and his team now have the high-tech tools and the facilities that they can add to the considerable knowledge and the skills that they've had for some time. And that combination will allow Kentucky's most complex trauma-based patients to be treated right there in Lexington. The emergency department is the first completed phase of our $570 million UK Chandler Hospital expansion, a project that is being completed on our own dime. We receive no money from the state of Kentucky. That building is being built on revenues generated by the people who work here and by the leadership of Mike Karp and his team. I can't tell you how proud I am not only of that physical facility, but of the manner in which they are serving this state by reaching out across rural Kentucky, helping patients stay in their beds closer to their families until they have a severe problem they can't treat locally, and then they come here and they are doing so. The world is going to be able to experience our innovation firsthand during these 2010 Alltech FEI World Equestrian Games that Tom mentioned. UK Healthcare is serving as the official healthcare provider for the Games. Although we hope everybody remains healthy, we know out of the size of that crowd and the events that are taking place, things may occur where our doctors and nurses and technicians and therapists may be needed to meet those needs, and we feel confident that will happen. Our College of Agriculture has been working with the Games from the very beginning, ensuring both horse and rider safety throughout that event. I'm really proud of something I just heard yesterday. Our College of Agriculture's Department of Horticulture delivered 3 flatbed trucks of flowers because the budget was falling short for the World Equestrian Games, and they weren't going to be able to do much in that regard. And not only are we putting $40,000 worth of flowers out there, we're also delivering the people that will put those flowers in place. And that's one of those last-minute things that an innovative university that cares about how our state looks jumps in and gets things done. When the guests venture upon the Lexington Convention and Visitors Bureau's welcome station, they're going to be immersed in UK innovation, and I hope you were able to see our solar home recently when it was on our campus. The Visitors Bureau is utilizing our solar decathlon house at the horse park. UK was one of only 20 schools in the world selected to participate in the 2009 Department of Energy Solar Decathlon. We came in 9th on our first attempt ever in that competition against other universities who had competed previously. And I want to ask Donnie Colliver of our Department of Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering and Greg Luhan from our College of Design to stand because they put an inordinate amount of work into that. So you guys deserve a round of applause. Greg, this summer, put together a book that's got some unbelievable pictures in it and a history and detail of how that solar decathlon home was built and how it competed. So I would certainly ask you to obtain a copy of that. During the opening ceremonies, the world will have a chance to experience the amazing talent of many of our students and faculty members and staff who will perform under the direct leadership of stand-up Everett McCorvey, who's in addition to being responsible for that opening ceremony, he is also bringing in a group of Haitian children to form a choir called Haitian Harmony that will be performing, and those children will be arriving here fairly soon. We continue to push innovation into our undergraduate curriculum. For the first time since 1986, the university revamped its general education requirements. We are on course for full implementation of our new undergraduate studies program in the fall of 2011. We invested $5 million into that plan, and we are going to the Senate for final approval this fall, and we really appreciate the way the Senate and Senate Council have helped us put this together and the envisioning of this by Provost Subaswamy and the Dean and faculty. This is we got some questions on whether we should put money into this or not, and Provost Subaswamy and I decided this is absolutely a change maker in this university. We won't go through the details of this curricular change, but it's one of the necessary things we need to do to continue to be competitive for the students that we want to bring here, the education we want to provide. So I do want to applaud also UK former trustee Ernie Yanarella, who was very involved at the very beginning of this when he was chair of the Senate Council and had a passion for that area. I don't see Ernie here, but innovation can even be found in the way in which we are now offering our classes. Even during these lean times, and they've prevented us from modernizing some of the classrooms, we've done a few things that we've been able to do. But Dean Mark Kornblue and his faculty and staff in the College of Arts and Sciences have found new ways to make UK education more accessible to our students. The College of Arts and Sciences offered 30 new online courses this past summer. The offerings were a big hit with more than 1,400 students attending and enrolled. They attended from their homes or wherever they were because it was all online. This surge, combined with several other initiatives launched by Provost Subaswamy's War on Attrition, helped UK set a record in the number of students who took summer classes, as more than 9,000 students enrolled in our summer courses this past year. Dean Kornblue plans to offer 75 online courses next summer. It's a 150% increase, and he is hoping to enroll 3,000 students. Provost Swamy and I are putting together some money into the infrastructure that he did in arts and sciences to ensure that other deans have the ability to put such courses online. The technology has gotten a lot better, and the desire and the willingness of the faculty to put those types of courses together is really important. And that is one of the ways that we feel that we can continue to get this business plan on track financially, is by expanding that particular array of offerings. I see innovation thriving in our research labs. UK's research expenditures hit a record $367 million this last year. If you put that in perspective, if that research group under Jim Tracy was a public company, they'd be the 16th largest company in the state of Kentucky. We as a university are about $2.5 billion, and so we're in the top 5 at least in the state of Kentucky. As of June, UK researchers received over $100 million in American Recovery and Investment Act awards. And that money is not just there for the taking. It's not something the President decided to dole out and give to everybody formulaically. That is competitive money. We had to compete in order to receive those funds with the best public and private universities in the country, and we did our fair share and more. We have innovators like Lisa Rubel in the College of Education, who would like to stand and give her a round of applause right now, and I'll tell you what she did in a few minutes. Thank you, Lisa. She received a $1 million American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant from the National Institutes of Health. Her project seeks to train teachers who are working with autistic children in classrooms, particularly in Kentucky's rural communities that lack the resources for such innovative programming. She is currently working with teachers in 15 Kentucky counties. And that is the type of work that we are taking great pride in doing, where we're reaching out to attack some of these issues that face our state. I'm extremely proud of the Commonwealth Collaboratives. We have over 40 of those going on right now. And those are ways that we are making research real to the people of this state. Lisa's peers in the College of Education have placed that Kentucky First mentality at the core of the Kentucky P20 Innovation Lab that was announced recently. Dean Mary John O'Hare is in China today, cannot be with us, but she has gotten all 17 of our colleges engaged in this initiative. I spoke last week at the Next Generation Learning Summit held in Lexington, where Commissioner Holliday brought 174 superintendents, all of our P12 superintendents here in Lexington, to hear about how we can offer innovative programs from our colleges down to the K-12 system to help improve their opportunity to achieve more. So this is how we're going to improve literacy. It's how we're going to drive the STEM education area that we're interested in and get the ACT scores up. We also are home to some of the nation's leading energy innovators. Thanks to the Center for Applied Energy Research, the Kentucky Geological Survey, and energy researchers across our campus, we have ongoing research in every county in Kentucky, 120 counties, and they've actually come up with a map you'll be able to hit pretty soon. Click on a county, it'll show you the energy projects going on. Energy is very important to this state's future. UK researchers are engaged in research projects bringing more than $74 million in funding to the state of Kentucky. And we boast a rich and diverse energy research portfolio. We have researchers conducting coal, oil, and gas research, agricultural researchers studying biofuels and next-generation energy solutions, chemists developing new solar energy collecting devices, architects and designers developing new cities that will be more energy efficient and environmentally conscious, and working closely with the manufactured housing industry in the Somerset area that's been plagued when the houseboat industry went down. They're looking at how to use those same talents, those same products to build energy efficient manufactured homes. Seth Bolt is with us today from our College of Agriculture. Would give him a round of applause and I'll tell you what he did. Thank you, Seth. Seth is working with Rodney Andrews at the Center for Applied Energy Research to develop new processes to convert plant cell components into liquid fuels and chemicals, offsetting the demand for petroleum-based fuels. I will tell you that I've had meetings with some in our student body who are very concerned about the carbon footprint for our institution here in Lexington. And when I met with them, I told them that I had the similar concern. We do have a coal-fired power plant on our campus. We don't have the money to replace it right now. But we are doing work with Seth and others to try to change the footprint for the world. We are working in many areas that are not maybe going to be applied here in Kentucky, but will have an effective implementation other places. We have researchers like Steve Lipka, who is with the Center for Applied Energy Research. Steve, stand up and let us recognize you. Steve is working to solve complex energy storage issues for renewable energy sources. Many scientists have determined how to gather wind and solar energy, but finding ways to store that energy for when it is needed has been a real major obstacle. Steve's project was the only one for an American university to receive funding from E.ON AG in Germany. He beat out competition from other projects being proposed at MIT, Caltech, and the University of Illinois. And the storage technologies are extremely important to how this nation will use its energy in the future. I see how UK's innovators are reshaping Kentucky's economy. For the second consecutive year, UK ranks first in creating startup companies per $10 million worth of research expenditures among our benchmark institutions. Our patent revenues are $2.3 million, which is a 38% increase over the previous year. Even though the state and the nation struggle to add jobs, our Coldstream Research Campus continues to expand. Coldstream now has 65 companies this year, up from 53 last year. It is now home to 1,069 employees, up from 932 last year. We've been very successful at creating companies right here in Kentucky, as well as attracting some from other areas. The Lexington Venture Club conducts an annual survey of local companies that receive venture funding each year. 88 early-stage companies just in the Fayette County area, received $47.5 million in 2009 from venture capital, federal financing, and private investors. 39 of those companies are affiliated with the University of Kentucky. The average salary for those UK-affiliated companies was more than $78,000, $15,000 higher than the employees of the other companies. This shows you what quality, sustainable jobs should look like, driven by a research university. This past spring, we successfully recruited a division of Galmont Consulting to our community. The company, which is based out of Chicago, was created by Lexington native and UK alumni Jerry Smith. She has opened a new software testing center in downtown Lexington, and they're in the process of adding 90 new computer science jobs, working with our College of Engineering and Computer Science faculty. I also see innovation in our culinary services across campus. I hope that you want to join me in recognizing our UK dining service and catering staff who are probably serving food outside, but we fortunately have Scott Henry, Ray Schmidt, and Melinda Plymel with us today, and will the three of you stand, and anybody else you brought with you, and let's give them a round of applause. It wasn't long ago that people on campus would leave campus during lunch hour or would not be willing to use UK catering to service some of their events, but that has changed. Patsy and I had the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference and his wife, who's quite a chef and gourmet chef in her own right, to dinner at Maxwell Place recently, and the dinner that UK Catering put in front of them, every component was bragged upon by Mike and Liz Slive. And we appreciate the quality of the service as well as the fact that they're a gold award winner. This past year, UK Dining Services, in collaboration with our School of Music and the Student Center, John, was awarded a gold medal dining award by the National Association of College and University Food Services for a very unique and innovative banquet they provided, which matched the food with the music as it was being performed. So we congratulate you all for your innovations. I'm constantly inspired by our innovative alumni, people like Bub Asman, who's here with us. But I haven't got a chance to meet you yet, but we're awfully glad you're here. Bub won an Oscar for Best Achievement in Sound Editing for his work on Letters from Iwo Jima. He is one of our many alums who sees blue. He graduated with a degree in telecommunications from our College of Communications and Information Studies, and is a father of 2 UK grads. We appreciate that. He still lives in Union, Kentucky, but he travels to California when it's time to make movies. He has been nominated for 4 Oscars for his sound work and has worked on some of the most famous movies of our time, films like Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Gran Torino, and Invictus, just to name a few. So we're very proud of you, and we thank you for being with us. I'm proud of another alum who used his innovation to create a few companies, the last of which was sold to Hewlett-Packard. This is Davis Marksbury, a UK engineering graduate. And having sold his company, he donated $6 million, which we were able to match with our Bucks for Brains program, and we're now building a building on our campus for the computer science faculty and the visualization center that desperately needed the space. And that's the type of innovation that creates the jobs that gives back to us. And that's something that happens at the Stanfords and the MITs on a regular basis, and we certainly appreciate that. Without question, the best part of this job and the reason that I chose to have that office on the corner is because of the innovators of tomorrow that we see. According to every statistic that I've just seen, the future is really bright for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Our enrollment figures show that this fall's freshman class is the most academically prepared in UK history. Once again, we've beaten that record year after year. I can't thank Don Witt and his staff, and Don's not with us today because he's probably on the road, for the work that they've done. They get one class in and immediately start the next week on bringing in the next class. This year's entering class includes 4,326 students, up from 4,153 from last year. And we were about 3,000 students when I started this job some time ago. It is the best prepared class to succeed with an average ACT of 25.2, up from last year of 24.7. When you raise the ACT average by half a point for over 4,000 students, it means that your quality is really improving. The average high school GPA is also an all-time high at 3.6, and the number of freshmen with an ACT score over 26 is a new record, 1,886. Almost half of the class is in that category. We're setting new records because our product is attractive to more students. Last year, we set a record by breaking 12,000 applications. This year, for the new freshman class, we had 13,600 applications. And you have to realize there are a lot of Kentucky kids who don't send applications to us because of our selectivity. And so we kind of have a natural selection process that keeps that number down, and only those who think that they can make it apply. Our provost has done some wonderful, innovative, risk-taking maneuvers working with Tom Harris, Kelly Bozeman, and our marketing and PR folks to try to reach out to bring in the best students in this state, and it's showing results. We are drawing students in the challenging math and science fields, even as schools across the nation are struggling to do so. The freshman enrollment in our College of Engineering went from 593 last year to 684 this year, a 15% increase, which follows a 26% enrollment increase from the prior year. Tom, you had, what, 300 or so 3 years ago? 380. So going from 380 engineering students to 684 in that period of time shows a real diligence in recruiting and offering a product that's attractive to these students. We were able to bring in more scientists because our college had the foresight to look at innovative recruiting practices and implement those. We're not simply attracting more students, we're making sure that they're successful once they step on our campus. Our first to second year retention rate was 82%. And this I attribute to Provost Swami's war on attrition. We were 75% just a couple of years ago. The fact that we're retaining more students meant that our total graduate count, or undergraduate, graduate, and professional student enrollment was 28,000 this year, which is a record high. In 2001, we had 24,000. As I explained to a few people the day in CPE meeting in northern Kentucky, our budget's gone up $3 million in 9 years, but our student count has gone up 4,000. So if you want to talk about our faculty becoming more efficient, I'd like to see the state government be nearly as efficient as what these faculty have been able to do. Enough of that. Really, really proud of the diversity of this class. This is the most diverse class in the history of this university. Our African American enrollment is up again this year, as is our Hispanic enrollment. When I started in 2001, we had 537 applications from African American students wanting to be freshmen here. This year we had 2,066, and we have a record number of those that are enrolled. I contend this is because the front of our classroom is also changing. In 2001, we had 57 African American faculty. This year, and I attribute the recruiting by the deans and the provosts, we have 89, from 57 to 89. And that is a highly competitive group that's hard to hire because they're in great demand. I've asked some of our academic all-stars to join us today, and I want you to join with me as we recognize the UK Singletary Scholars who've received our very, very highest academic honor. Would you all please stand, the Singletaries? Let's give you a round of applause. This year we had our highest yield. We usually ask Don to come up with, make enough offers, because these students are trying to get, they can go anywhere they want to go. So we say, select enough students and make offers enough students so we hit 25, because that's what we have funding for. It was 20 a few years ago. Athletics gave us money to expand that to 25. So this year he did that, but our yield was such that we have 31. So it's going to cost us a little money, but it's a great problem to have. This year's entering Singletary cohort has 3 National Merit finalists, 15 valedictorians, and 20 Governor's Scholars. The average ACT score for all of our Singletary Scholars, freshmen through seniors, is 33, which is amazing. The average high school GPA is 3.99, so they need to tighten up just a little bit. So. But thank you all for what you do, and I know you had plenty of choices of where you wanted to go, and we're so glad you're here. I'll drop a few names. Our past Singletary Scholars have been awarded astronaut scholarships, Beckman scholarships, Gates scholarships, Goldwaters, Jack Kent Cooke, and Truman. And these are among the very top students in the nation, and so we look forward to where your careers will take you. And as we said before, we want you to come back home. I also share the story of Singletary Scholars because of a budgetary reality. I was kind of shocked when I came that things like the Singletary Scholars and the other scholarships weren't endowed. I thought they were, but they come out of our general fund dollars. And we were not offering scholarships to Governor Scholars and Governor School for the Arts when I came. And we changed that, which was very successful from an numeric point of view. We went from 125 to about 400 in our freshman class. But those, along with other scholarships we offer, cost us about $55 million in general fund revenues. And so that's general fund money and tuition dollars that we reallocate to attract students. Public universities are looking more like private universities now, and these students do need to have funding in order for us to be able to attract them. That's why we've kicked off the President's Scholarship Initiative. Scholarships provide the young people with the greatest gift that anybody can give them, and that's the gift of opportunity. Now more than ever before, these are essential to our state's future. The people at the Governor Scholars office told me that when we started offering scholarships, the number of the Governor Scholars who were selected from Kentucky students who went through that summer program, the number that stayed in the state of Kentucky went up 30% when we started offering scholarships. So we are keeping our best and our brightest. It may be the difference, those scholarships, and what allows our students to sit in front of our world-renowned faculty. And that is something we need to get across to the mothers and fathers and counselors of Kentucky, that coming to this place, maybe you don't get a few $100s more on your scholarship than you might get offered by somebody else. But the exposure you get to the quality of people. One story I give is a young lady from Russell, Kentucky went back with me to her high school a few years ago, and she spoke to the junior senior class, and she said, I've been doing Parkinson's research since I was a freshman at UK, working with Dr. Greg Gerhardt. And I'm going to go, I think it was, to Sweden this summer because Dr. Gerhardt has some associates over there, and I'm going to go work in their labs. Those are the types of relationships you don't find in these for-profit online companies. Those are the kind of relationships you don't find in other universities that don't have a world-class faculty like we have. Our development office, led by Mike Ritchie, continues to do great work. Last year they raised $95 million. We're not even in a campaign now. We raised $1 billion in that campaign, one of only 31 universities in the nation to accomplish that $1 billion goal. And now we're running at the rate of $95 million a year, which is awfully good. We received donations from a record 44,000 donors. And those donations have helped our endowment, which is now around $780 million. We're the third highest in the Southeastern Conference. You can kind of discount Vandy, they're number one. But then Florida is above us. But then we're above all the other SEC schools with the endowment that we have been able to put together. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention athletics. Our student athletes are reaching new heights and setting new standards each and every day, and I take great pride in what Mitch Barnhart has done there. We hear a lot about the ones who play on Saturday night at Commonwealth Stadium at Rupp Arena, but we don't hear enough about the outstanding students who represent this university with distinction in other global sports. Mitch and his team within UK Athletics have worked hard to make sure that every student athlete who comes to this university and competes in whatever sport has the opportunity to compete for championships. A great example of that commitment to excellence is with us today. Rondell Cirillo, would you stand, Rondell? Very He stood up kind of slowly and sat down kind of slowly, but that's not a characteristic of his. He's a native of Trinidad and Tobago. He captured UK's first NCAA championship in the 200-meter dash in 2010. He is an 8-time All-American who is quite literally changing the UK record book every time that he steps on the track. And so we thank you for what you do. So in closing, as I look back over these past 9 years, I've never felt that this university was positioned as well to succeed as it is today. As you look around at the people that we've honored today, you'll recognize a recurring theme. In the areas for which we have some control, we're setting records. Research expenditures at an all-time high. Our hospital continues to grow and expand at an amazing rate. We're attracting the best and the brightest students from Kentucky and beyond while setting new application records along the way. We have expanded our operating budget from $1.2 billion to $2.4 billion, despite the fact that our state appropriation has remained relatively flat, going up only $3 million from beginning to end. Over the next 9 months, our challenge is to keep the momentum going. Since we've done an exceptional job of controlling our own destiny, it's time that we have to control more of it. When I was asked in this room the other day at the press conference, what are you most proud of? I'd already decided I wasn't going to go there because we would be here till sundown. But then I said, now let me restate that. I'm very proud of the change in attitude for this institution, because we now don't roll our eyes when we talk about top 20. I get emails from people saying, we just hired this person that'll help us toward our top 20 plan. I just got this grant, this will help us toward our top 20 plan. We just recruited these students, this will help us toward our top 20 plan. It is a plan whose timetable may become more difficult, but the attitude that I have seen is not a whining attitude, it's a working attitude. And that's what it's going to take for us to succeed. Over the next 9 months, we've got to step up to that challenge. Swami and I have tried our best to take as many hits as we could centrally by just squeezing our budget in every way we possibly could. But we've got to look at other efficiencies as we go forward. And I think that the minds that we have can figure that out. We've got to look at other revenue sources. I gave Mark Kornblue credit a few moments ago for the number of students, but he also brought in $2 million worth of revenue from those students. And with the 75 courses he's talking about bringing in $5 million additional revenue. Those additional dollars will give us the flexibility to do great things. We have cut $112 million of expenses since we have been here, but we have got to continue to work to become independent basically of the trauma of the state budgets. We've raised tuition more than any of us would like to have done so. But we've now got to make what investments we can in trying to increase revenue. Swami and I are both investing in infrastructure to try to make it possible to do even more online learning classes. I'm also investing in development. We're centralizing more the development effort. We did an audit last year. We're investing in money for annual giving to get that up. We're investing in money for someone who will focus just on foundations and go after those foundations so we can bring in more development money. And the deans are working closely with Mike to make sure that our development efforts is maximized, because that money is what we need to make progress. If you want to know how an institution can make extraordinary progress during a challenging time, just look in the mirror, because the people that I see around here are the ones who are making those accomplishments. We have driven innovation, as I've just mentioned, in about everything that we do. Creativity and discovery are not simply reserved for our research labs any longer. Great organizations are constantly creating new and innovative ways to do the same jobs with less resources. So I want to just finish by saying Patsy and I cannot tell you how honored we have been to serve in this position for 9 years. We look forward to the next 9 months. We look forward to a little bit of time after that too, but this has been an unbelievable experience. My thought when I took the position was that we would continue to get the state funding, and that wasn't going to be enough to do the top 20 plan, but we were going to cut costs, and we'd use that money to move ahead. I really felt that a $1.2 billion organization, after I'd had to watch cash in my startup companies, that size bureaucracy had money that we could use. Unfortunately, the money we've cut has almost been equal to the money we've been cut. But we still made progress, and it's because of the attitude that you've had, and we have so enjoyed working with you to take on that challenge. It is making a difference. It will make a difference. And we want to thank you for all that you've done. I do want to try to visit with each of the colleges and many of the individuals to personally thank you for your contribution. Everything you do in whatever capacity you serve helps move this forward. But I did say my first day, I recall, that two things. One is we can change your attitude and it doesn't cost $1. And we've done that. But the other thing I mentioned was that this top 20 thing is not about just building up research dollars. It's about changing the state of Kentucky, which is a pretty big deal. I gave a speech about that the other day, and the head of a foundation that sponsored this new way of teaching came up to me and he said, I haven't really heard university presidents being willing to take on the lower end of their ACT range and try to get them through the system and invest in them and add value to them. Or I've not heard faculty, who generally make tenure by doing things that very few people understand, being willing to take on methamphetamine and preterm babies and some of the things that you talk about doing here in this state. So we are making a difference. We're doing it the right way. And our campus is the Commonwealth, and you all have taken that on and made that real. And I can't thank you enough, and I will stop there and just say, let's go get it for the next 9 months. And I'd like to have a bowl championship and a Final Four appearance, but that's all I'm going to say about athletics.
Dr. Todd, you've set the bar high. You're going to be a tough man to follow, and we hope and we believe that 9 months from now you'll remain available with your advice and counsel to move the university and the Commonwealth forward. Thank you again for all you've done over the past 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching in, and that concludes our program today.